Hey everybody, it's Funny here once again. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm rambling about the patching Panda Punch MG. It is a quad channel envelope VCA with some tricks up its sleeve for drums, and it sounds like this. Okay, Punch MG. So I know there is a couple different versions of the Punch. There's a V1, a V2, I believe a V3, and I'm pretty sure the MG, the mute group version, is the fourth version. I will say a bizarre part about the name is the mute group moniker. I don't think it is a mute group at all. I think it's choke groups. I mean, they can be selected to choke each other globally or not choke each other at all, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But don't expect a button, which I thought when I saw this one originally, that these were the mute group selections, but they're not. They're manual triggers. So I think the best way to check out the Punch MG is to make our own drum kit in your rack. It makes it really easy to just have four VCAs and envelope generators all in one. Notice 4 inputs for audio. Let's patch in a sine wave into the first, and we'll try and make a kick drum out of that. And then we have 4 individual outputs and a mix output, so they'll all cascade into the mix output, but you can break individual signals out. So if I want to process everything but the kick, I can take a cable. I won't do this just yet, but you could take the output 1 and then have a submix at the mix output and then break out your individual voices by patching them out that way. You get trigger inputs, which we'll patch in a moment, but for now I'm just going to manually trigger with the use of the trigger button. And then generated by the triggers and determined by the length of the decay, we have envelope outputs, individual ones for each of them. I'm going to scope that up actually right off the rip here, just so you can sort of see the curvature. You don't get any choice over the curve, I guess. We're just getting a fixed one, but if I hit the trigger here, you'll see it going. Yellow behind it is the sine wave. Let's bring in the audio here. Sort is time, so it's just like a decay macro, I think. I don't know if the curvature itself changes at all. That looks pretty linear. I do find there's always a little bit of popping, and it makes for a nice click and kicks, but it might be a little bit of a nuisance in other patches. See our envelopes on the scope. Turn it down. You can also mix these in using the level knobs because we're on the mix output. There's only one right now, obviously, so we're only hearing one, but there's our manual trigger. We also have CV control for a couple things. We have time, so if you want to modulate the overall length of it, we can. I'll throw a quick envelope at it. If we go into time 1, you'll just see I'll get some varied decays, and I think that's a underrated tool that also makes this thing super useful. I'm trying to make interesting modular drums. Modulating the decay times is always the best, and it makes it really easy when you don't have to have all separate VCA envelope generators. So there's also a control as well. Maybe I'll take that patch again and do it over level, and off the top of my head, I thought this is just a macro for the overall level at the decay, but we'll have to explore that when we have more than one voice going. The other powerful part of this is we're scoping our envelope output now, but I'm going to need it. Let's get our sequence going so I can run 4 on the floor here. Hold on a moment. And we'll take a trigger out and send that here. And then on our channel 2, we have 4 on the floor. I'll unmute that. Notice I'm popping still. If I turn my level down, it does not go away. It's sort of baked in the envelope, I think. So right now you're listening to a sine wave output from the Banshee Reach. I'll tune it down a little bit. Maybe we'll get a little bit into triangle territory. Let's try that. But what is really useful though is getting that envelope output so I can do pitch bends on here. Super straightforward. Let's go FM. So now we got that pitch envelope. This is a little bit, yeah, no filter, no nothing, just sine wave, pitch bend, and I think that sounds really nice. Notice you do get clicks though, which sounds great for our kick. Right? I really dig that. A little bit of reverb. I'm going to leave some of that stuff on there just because, you know, there's no filtering. It's just a VCA. All of the inputs are coming from somewhere else, so let's just keep it interesting, I think, if you're okay with that. So that's our kick. I want to get a snare going as well. Now, I love my Ultra Perk. I would opt for that, but we can't today. What's something that could be a snare? Anything can be a snare in Eurorack. I'm going to zoom out just for demonstration purposes because, as always, it's not journalism. We're just having a good time. I'm going to take the output from Interstellar Radio, I believe. Yeah. Turn that down here. So it's going to give us some nice noise. And unique noise sources are some of my favorite parts of Eurorack. Let's get a trigger going into that. Pitch it up a little bit. And unique stuff in modular, right? You could just use a snare sample, obviously, but I want to do something unique with it, right? So here comes our kick again. Maybe we do less snares. Hold on. A little longer decay. And before let's mute our new snare. You can invert the envelope, so let's turn this up. I'll pitch up our kick a hair too. You can invert the envelope, so if instead of pitch bend down, we'll go pitch bend up with this switch. I don't think that works super well for kicks, but we can turn that down there. Muting my kick, bring back in my snare. I love how ridiculous this is. Why be modular? For me, these are the reasons. So let's modulate our carrier. Let's invert that one. Yeah, just like that isn't a snare. That's kind of why I like it. Yeah. Turn the reverb down just a hair. And again, one of the another great noise sources I love to make is a hi-hat. So let's go in. So as much as it's really nice that all of these things are in one place, it does get a little cramped on the panel. It's already looking hilariously stacked. Let's go in and listen now. I've patched in the VCNO, which is voltage controlled noise oscillator, in on 3. Turn that up. And do these inputs cascade? Because that would be sweet. No, they do not. Dang it. Okay, so I'm going to use 2 different inputs on the, I guess I could mult it or somewhere, but just because this is all for funsies, we want to do something as interesting as possible, I guess, and we're going to do, let's throw 2 separate noise sources into the last 2 channels. So the last one will be 2 different hats from the voltage controlled noise oscillator. So you can see the actual thing that we're trying to talk about. I'm going to zoom in a little bit there, but here comes a couple more things. So if I manually trigger these last 2, we'll go like this. Sounds like hats. I'll make the decays super short, which I really like. And then last one as well. So last one is the tear output. This one is the scorch output. Maybe we'll make the open, quote-unquote, one a little bit longer decay, and then we'll throw some triggers at it here. Do some accenty stuff with the last one, so it'll be a little more sparse for like an open hat feel, maybe. Or maybe I'm going to get here and we'll feel that we want to do, I don't know, some more cymbal-y stuff like a fill. And I can pitch the VCNO, so we'll do that. Let's try the sizzle output. Yeah. And then we bring in our kick again. Bring in the snare. Yeah. Effects in because we can. And I'll mute the first two channels again. And I'll show you the mute groups. So these will choke each other. And I don't know if, like, when I think hi-hat modules, you usually get to choose which one chokes the other one. And the weird thing about the Punch MG is it'll just, like, choke everything. And I think it's just whatever's choked the last is the priority. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So here's choke on for these two hats. And choke off. Let's add some more triggers just to demonstrate it more. So that's off, on. So that will definitely, like, even though you don't get to choose this priority per se, it does make them choke each other. Now you can apply this to the whole thing, so let's bring the other ones that are unchoked. Bring in a little bit of distortion. Yeah. Maybe too much to demonstrate it. So now those first two channels aren't choking. Mix it a little bit. Here's what happens if we turn the choke on for all of them, though. It's like everything's choking each other. And it makes for interesting effects, so I'll just crank the decay time on the kick. So I'm not modulating the decay, but it will take up any space it can because it's cranked all the way up, which is really interesting. It's just like, these are the kind of modular drum things I love, right? So if we take the kick out and leave everything else in, look how crazy this pile of cables is. I like that. I feel like the patch I'm usually thinking I'm going to use is to break out the kick itself if I was going to make it this way. Right? So we can do that if we take our output that we're listening to, listen to just that. Yeah, I like that. And then we can take an audio in and run it through some effects so the kick can stay, what's the word? Kick can stay totally dry. And then the mix output on the other channels, we'll listen to now. Here it comes. So it's got some reverb, some distortion. I'm filtering stuff from the Endorphin's Ghost. Compress the crap out of it. And you can do ducking effects with that too, right? So there's another patch idea. We're running out of cables, this freaking beast of a setup on here. If we go on here, and we'll take the envelope 1, I'm probably going to lose some voltage by doing this, but that's okay. And we'll, cutoff CV. So let's put that into the cutoff CV. So the kick can sort of not duck, but filter sweep. So we get into high pass territory. So if we mute that, you can just hear where the kick was. Or low pass. Bring in my kick. Yeah. Bring that out. I think I'm losing some of my pitch envelope, maybe not. Yeah. Let's speed this up. distortion. All right. I think I've honestly tried to sort of evangelize Eurorack drums. I see in some ways, looking at this mess of cables, why people might want to avoid them or just use drum machines and stuff, but I really think it's worth it. I really think there's something you should definitely check out. Let's try taking these mute groups off, and then we'll jump into a jam. So I'm Tafony. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. I'll see you in the next video.